Located in south-central Virginia, the rolling hills of Pittsylvania County cover nearly 1,000 square miles. Some of the county's 62,000 residents have a long, rich history here, including beef cattle rancher Philip Lovelace.
I'm ninth generation. My granddaughter's 11th generation. I live on a farm that I was born on. My great-granddaddy lived across the ridge from where I'm at, about 4/10 of a mile, in a one-room cabin with a rock chimney and a loft. That's where my grandpappy was raised.
Lovelace is fiercely proud of his legacy, but now he and other Pittsylvania residents are fighting to protect their community from a proposed uranium mine planned for Coles Hill, a historic property owned by the same family since the 1780s. Seventh-generation hay farmer Byron Motley lives adjacent to the potential mine site.
I can walk out on this farm. The old tobacco barns over here, my father's fingerprints is in the mud daubing between the logs. I can see them. I can go down behind the old home house, and there's a big beech tree down there, and my father and uncle's initials are put in there from 1939. They're inside of that tree. How do I walk away from this? You know, so I've got to take a stand. But if I'm forced out, I don't know where I'll go. I really don't.
Motley, Lovelace, and others took notice when the company started by the Coles family, Virginia Uranium, started buying up parcels of land. Another neighboring family, the Bowens, also have a stake in Virginia Uranium, as well as a Canadian firm, Virginia Energy Resources. The company now owns about 3,000 acres and has been lobbying Virginia's legislature to lift a decades-old ban on uranium mining. Virginia Uranium Project Manager Patrick Wales said the area, with a staggering 12% unemployment, could benefit from developing the mine.
Unfortunately, this area has been really decimated by the loss of tobacco, the textiles, furniture manufacturing, and here we finally have in Pittsylvania County, once again, a resource that is ours.
The specifics of the mine are still being established, though an underground mine with the possibility of an open pit is proposed for the time being. Virginia Uranium values the site up to $10 billion and says the estimated 120 million pounds of uranium could fuel U.S. nuclear plants for 2 years. The company says it stands to gross $140 million a year in revenue and promises to hire more than 300 employees who would make around $65,000 a year. Mine proponents also say it would reduce the amount of uranium the U.S. imports, now about 92%, according to the Nuclear Energy Institute, an industry advocacy group. And Wales says, beyond regional benefits, the mine would mean energy independence for the state as well.
Virginia has a dubious distinction of being the second largest importer of electricity, only behind California. And I think that there's a strong movement to get away from that. And where better to start than the single largest energy project in Virginia?
After uranium is harvested, it is processed into fuel for nuclear power plants, which currently provide about 20% of U.S. electricity. Advocates call nuclear power clean energy, as the fission and steam reaction that generates power yields significantly less greenhouse gases during operation. But some dispute the clean energy classification, pointing out that the uranium mining process creates greenhouse gas emissions. And when accidents happen at uranium mine sites, the consequences can be serious and long-term. The waste from mines or tailings is often the culprit. The most notorious of these disasters is the Church Rock tailings spill of 1979. Located on the Navajo Nation's northern New Mexico territory, the spill poured 1,100 tons of radioactive waste and 90 million gallons of contaminated liquid into the Rio Puerco River. These kind of accidents, along with groundwater contamination and medical issues such as cancer and birth defects, have caused Pittsylvania locals like cattle rancher Lovelace to rally against removing the ban.
Those tailings being exposed to the environment, if we have a massive hurricane in the area we live in, which we have a lot of them, our water table is very shallow to the top of the ground. This area has fractured rock. This stuff uranium is water soluble. It will mix in our groundwater. And you cannot get radiation out of your water. It cannot be removed. Now you can cut it. You can add more water to it and make it weaker, but you still have radiation.
Lovelace's concerns don't stop with his own locality. He has seen the statewide maps showing uranium deposits that stretch from the North Carolina border across to the southern tip of Maryland.
It's not going to be right here just in Pittsylvania County. They're going to open this whole state up if that moratorium is lifted.
That is where Naomi Hodge Muse, president of the Martinsville NAACP, comes in. She lives about half an hour from the proposed site, but also foresees the floodgates opening if the moratorium is lifted.
I don't care because it's 30 miles away. That's not an acceptable answer. Not if you consider yourself a citizen of a state and you love your state.
Hodge Muse, along with the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, organized bus trips across the state to attend public comment hearings about lifting the ban.
5 different localities, all in agreement, all racially diverse, because this is a Virginia issue. This is a citizen's issue. This has no party line. This has no ethnicity. You are, as a Virginian, have a right to walk outside and breathe clean air.
The public hearings were conducted by the National Academy of Sciences, an all-volunteer body that is reviewing studies submitted by different groups to understand the social, environmental, and economic impact of lifting the ban. One such study was paid for by the city of Virginia Beach to better understand the possibility of a heavy rainstorm on the bodies of water between Coles Hill and Virginia Beach, including the city's water supply, Lake Gaston. Tom Leahy, Director of Public Utilities for the City of Virginia Beach, said although the study deals with a worst-case scenario, such weather events are not uncommon.
The hydrology in Virginia is well documented that the eastern ridge of the Appalachian and Blue Ridge Mountains are particularly susceptible to extreme flooding events and events that are sometimes referred to as PMP storms, or probable maximum precipitation storms. And these types of storms are capable of devastating virtually any man-made structure.
The Virginia Beach Uranium Mining Impact Study found that such a storm could result in significant accumulation of radioactive materials in the riverbed, floorplain, and reservoir. The results of that study have been challenged by Bob Bodner, a professor of geochemistry at Virginia Tech and supporter of the mine. Bodner, who has more than 3 decades of experience in geoscience, has conducted hydrological studies of the Coles Hill site funded by Virginia Uranium. He says the idea of groundwater contamination from modern mining operations is often misunderstood.
When you dig a hole in the ground, whether it's an open pit or you do an underground mine, water does not flow from that area out into the surrounding areas to contaminate the groundwater or the surface water. Instead, water flows towards that hole.
Water would be continuously pumped out of the mine and purified on-site by Virginia Uranium, according to Bodner, who says changes in technology mean uranium could be mined responsibly.
It would be treated, any harmful elements or dissolved components in that water would be removed, and then the water that would be then returned either to the groundwater through a well or to surface springs would meet all of the drinking water standards of the Environmental Protection Agency.
But following Japan's nuclear crisis, mine proponents might have a harder time convincing lawmakers to repeal the ban, and some, including hay farmer Motley, see this as an opportunity for Virginia to become a true leader in energy independence by investing in wind, water, and solar energy.
We have a new school that our tobacco money helped build, the Advance of Technology School over here at Danville. We've got several excellent schools in Virginia that we could be getting this into a feasible way of powering our country. And our honorable governor and the honorable people that we have elected into the seats, they need to realize nuclear is 50 years old. It's not new process. We've got to go to new process. We've got to find a better and cleaner way.
The Virginia General Assembly has the final say on lifting the uranium mining ban and only meets at the beginning of every year for a few months. Virginia Uranium's attempt to lift the ban this past year were squashed, but they are taking steps to ensure the issue is discussed during the 2012 session. Members of the Virginia Energy and Mining Committee refused to discuss the issue until the National Academy of Sciences finished their report, which is scheduled for completion at the end of this year.